doubts, lot of doubts in their mind that what happened to these multidisciplinary partnerships. They keep on asking the branch or institute staff. Now we have a very renowned speaker for this topic, Dev Malya Maitra sir from Mumbai. Now I welcome Deepak Ladda, chairman of the branch, and I welcome Girdhar Lal Toshnawal, treasurer of the branch, and I welcome the today's speaker, Dev Malya Maitra sir, and I welcome all the 120 participants who are there on time. Now I request Deepak Ladda, chairman of the branch, to give his welcome address, please.
At the outset, my apologies. There is some technical issues from my side that I am unable to come on screen. I apologize for that, sir. And welcome to Hyderabad once again, Malya sir.
Thank you. I love the city. I really love that city.
Thank you so much, sir. Friends, just to information about that, we had a regional conference on 9th and 10th of this December, and sir was one of the speaker. And when I reached sir next week, sir immediately accepted, although he was on holiday for a week's time. But sir said, okay, because of Hyderabad, I'll come back. Just give me a day and for the preparations. I said, sir, Hyderabad audience have loved your message very well, because it was, in fact, few members told me, why can't you invite Dev Malya Maitra sir on this topic? Because when I was discussing with the members about can we have a good speaker, our senior members, Mr. Vijay Totapalli and others, and sir said, why can't you invite again, once again? So when he called, sir, I've readily accepted, sir. Thank you so much. On behalf of Hyderabad branch, I extend my heartful thanks for accepting on a very shorter notice. Friends, the today's topic is awareness program on multidisciplinary partnership. Yesterday also, our renowned speaker, Mr. Reddy from Guru and Jana Chartered Accountants, Bangalore, have taken upon the new advertising guidelines and new networking guidelines. It was very well received by all of them. And continuing the second leg of the topic, once we have a network, what about the next level of the practice, that is multidisciplinary partnerships? Everyone wants to, all of us wants to grow. All of us wants to have the next legacy of the profession and our firm get built in. So our institute is doing a lot of work, and multidisciplinary partnership, I'm sure it will be a breakthrough steps in the profession to create the legacy of our profession. And it is the way where we can involve multi-professionals to be part of our organization. Sir, I'm sure sir will take us through all the provisions and what are the restrictions, as well as what are the procedural wise, how we need to cover it. So looking forward, as we all know, we have 80% of the proprietorships still operating in India. And as per the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, that next 10 years, we should have next big five from India. So all these procedures and all these new guidelines about especially the networking guidelines and this multidisciplinary partnership, it will help us to grow our firms locally as well as internationally. We can now, I'm just too sure, we can have with co-professionals, cost accountants, company secretaries, engineers working along with us and having on board as their partners, although with certain restrictions. So we have this DCA Dev Malya Maitra sir from Mumbai. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you Ravi Shankar Reddy for the opportunity, and expect members to have a next 2 hours of happy learning, and wish you all a happy new year in advance. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Chairman sir, for your brief and good introduction. Now, may I request CA Girdhar Lal Toshnawal, treasurer of the branch, to formally introduce our today's speaker, Dev Malya Maitra sir. Sir, unmute.
Very happy evening to all of you. Thank you, Chairman sir and Secretary sir, for giving this opportunity. Mr. Dev Malya Maitra, Senior Director, BFSI, Choksi Group, and partner of CKSP & Co. LLP, is a Chartered Accountant. He is a Senior Director at Choksi Group and also a partner at CKSP & Co. In addition, he is an associate with FinCurrent Advisory Services as a faculty member. He is a seasoned professional with more than 30 years of experience in the banking and financial service industry, with more than a decade each in new age private sector bank and life insurance companies, and 7 years in a leading housing finance company. Presently, he works as a consultant in BFSI space with a focus on risk management, AML, and corporate governance. He was the Chief Risk Audit and Compliance at AGN Life Insurance, and prior to that, he was the Head of Audit and Risk Management at HDFC Standard Life Insurance. Before this, he was heading Audit and Compliance at Centurion Bank of Punjab. Dev Malia sir is a chartered accountant, 1983-1987, and holds a bachelor's of commerce with honors in accountancy. His experience in setting up processes in large number of startups in different areas as a startup of core management team, and has hands-on experience setting up and integration the following functions. That is operational risk management, including fraud, risk control units, regulatory compliance frameworks, including international compliance requirements like AML, FATCA, CRS, etc. Track regulatory changes and re-engineering process. Sorry, gentlemen. Sorry. Don't know how to cancel it. And is setting up, reviewing and reporting the customer grievances related to the systems. Setting up an internal audit function and planning and executing the audit calendar. Dev Malia sir was a member of insurance delegation in the FAFT evaluation relating to preparedness regarding anti-money laundering regulations in India. He is also on members of governance of Institute of Internal Auditors Mumbai chapter from 2015 to 2017. Thank you, sir. With this, I request Dev Malia sir to kindly address the gathering.
Thank you, Treasurer sir. Sir, it's up to you. Now you can start the session, sir.
Dev Malia sir, I think so you have to unmute the thing, sir.
I think it is struck. SARS. Sorry, members, 1 minute. I think speaker's system is struck. Sorry, members.
Sir, you can exit and rejoin again.
I think so, sir has done that.
Sir, welcome back.
For a while, yeah. So I hope now I'm clear.
Yes, yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Yeah, I changed. Sure. So, being my regulator's town where I was there, I used to be traveling to very often because of IRDA. So it holds a lot of good memories to me, and I'm happy to see so many of you, on the verge of a year-end, missing your party and coming up and listening to such a serious topic. So, which indicates that we are really, as a professional, ready to leap into the next generation. Let me start sharing the screen, and we'll, with that.
Sorry, members, I think again connection lost. And some members are typing their membership numbers. I don't think it is required for CPG. Please. Sir, welcome back.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why my missing connection got dropped. I'll just quickly check my connection once more. So just give me 1 minute.
Okay, sir. Now it's perfectly right, actually.
It's okay, no? Yeah. So anyway, so starting off with the topic, multidisciplinary partnership, something which really can leapfrog the CAs into future, but there is a lot of way to go. And the institute has made a very good start, but then we are not alone. We are now asking other professionals to join. So, all bodies have to work together to, create a system where, this works, because this is not ultimately a work of one institute or one regulatory body. All the regulatory bodies have to come together And then only we will see this, becoming a success in a great grand scale. Today, we can start with a limited scale, try our experiences, and then go up. Because nothing, we should start in such a grand scale that we cannot manage. So I think the launch pad has been provided by the institute. We should look at it, try and use it how best we can do it. And then, as we go along, I'm sure we can keep expanding. The institute will also be working with the other institutes to find out ways to, have better cooperation. And then this will definitely become a major area to look forward to. And multidisciplinary partnership is such a what should I say, good kind of a nice unit which can gel with anything, the networking, and it can still network with other CAs, it can create its own business practices. So it's a huge opportunity which we are looking at. So whatever little I have understood, I will try to share with you, and then maybe at the end we can have some discussions wherein we can discuss various questions in everybody's mind. Now, obviously, the views expressed are personal, and based on my reading of whatever material I could get, it's and not attributed to any organization. Now, first, let me go through the regulations. The regulations are under Chartered Accountants Act, came in force from 8 July 2021, allows only partnerships and LLPs to. It has to be registered as MDP CA in practice. The word MDP gets included in the name. That's an important point. Just like networking, this will be shown in the name that it's a network, or similarly, this will be an MDP. Now, who can be partner of this firm? As of today, what the institute has allowed is a company secretary who is a member of ICSI, cost accountant who is a member of ICWA, advocate who is a member of the Bar Council of India, engineer who is a member of the Institution of Engineers, architect who is a member of Indian Institute of Architects, and actuary who is a member of Institute of Actuaries of India, which indicates what the institute has started off with is to ensure that you are tying up with people who have an affiliation to another regulated body. So once you're dealing with only regulated bodies, it is easier for you to manage a lot of issues which we will discuss as we go along. So that is where I think that may have been the intent of the institute when they thought about these 6 professions to start with. Now, there are other professions which are listed in the regulation, which they said we are not allowing at the moment, which is MBA and other equivalent qualification, approved valuers, insolvency professional, and information technology professional. Now, again, my belief is that all these categories are still not maybe so well regulated, if they're on their own, if they're the same, I will also discuss how the same professions can be, be part of other profession. I mean, an information technology professional could be an engineer. So that kind of a possibility still is there. So that's where we need to have more clarification and more understanding, which I feel will come through as we go along. So, can render all services prescribed under the CA Act and regulations, which I am not going through, just for information, and also can render services performed by other professionals who are its partners. So basically, the CA, it can act as a CA firm, as well as it can add functions based on the kind of partners they have. Now, the bigger concern comes with statutory audit. Is a MDP allowed to do statutory audit? Now, here there is one fine line. Not every MDP is allowed to do statutory audit. Firm must have majority of partners who are CAs. Then only they will be eligible for the assignment. Now, this part I am now going through. I will now explain through a example much later in much more detail. Then majority criteria for the purpose of computing eligibility will be based on both number of partners as well as on aggregate share of profits. And only practicing CAs are authorized to sign on behalf of the firm. Obviously, I mean, you don't expect another professional to come and sign a statutory audit report. And computation of ceilings will be based on number of CA partners. So in that case, the other partners will be excluded when you are calculating the ceiling, which is there for the number of audits. Now, certain areas have been left to the firm, and which is good because the firm, it is between the partners how they decide. So they have to lay it down as rules, as partnership deed, and through other documents. One is share of profits, how you are going to share the profits, powers, authorities, duties, rights, responsibilities, liabilities, and disputes. Again, very important. All of them we need to have clarity. Some of this, if I take the second point, I amplified some of these issues in the third, fourth, and fifth point, which is responsibility to supply information to authorities as required from time to time. A very important thing. Who is going to be responsible? So for a CA partner will be responsible, but then some firm has to be made responsible for it. So it should not be that everybody thinks the other person is going to be complying. And for a non-CA, again, whoever is a member from that institution is expected to take the lead. Those things should be very clearly spelled out. Sometimes we assume things, but that does not happen. And then, when it actually the crunch comes, you suddenly see there's a big crack. So as much as possible, we should try and avoid that. Situations where partners need to consult each other. So there could be a situation where you need to, even in your audit, you need to consult another person. Maybe if you are doing a manufacturing firm and you have an engineer as a partner, there might be some process where you might think you should ask the engineer what the process actually means. So that could be a good example. And that kind of situation should be broadly spelled out that yes, there can be multidisciplinary discussions when you are doing a particular assignment. Similarly, an engineer could come back and say, look, I'm doing a technical feasibility report and I need financial inputs for that. Appointment of staff, who and how and who are responsible, how it will be a central function. All these things should be clearly spelled out when in the administration management and responsibility areas. And these are all the internal, responsibility of the concerned firm. The reconstitution, again, it's basically the ICAI issue. The Form 18 has to be filed within 30 days of the change. Now, there's an interesting one on branch office. In branch office, as you know, in any branch office that we set up as a firm, we expect a CA to be heading that branch office. Now, the council can provide exceptions in this regard. Now, here what has come out is that suppose there is a compelling reason and you want a particular branch to be headed by a non-CA, you don't despair, don't feel that, you should not tell that person, okay, no, we can't do it because it has to be a CA. There is an option out. You can make out the reason why you need it, and you can go to ICAI with the request, and they are likely to grant it if the the issue seems very logical. Fees, obviously, our provisions, regulations will apply. Other business occupation, our regulations will apply. 190A and 191. Professional address of partners, which means every partner should have a professional address, which normally should be the firm's address. That should be there for each of them. There should be no case where that is not there. Now, the important thing is disciplinary procedures. Should it be initiated because of violation of any law? If it is CA, if the partner is CA, the CA Act will apply. For other professionals, the respective institutions will come in. For an engineer, I don't think the institution of engineers may not have that spelled out a disciplinary process. So here the civil laws will prevail on the liability of the engineer. Now let us look at some of the other relevant structures which the ICAI has over the years developed, and so each of them ultimately should be complementing each other, and that's the whole idea of this system. I mean, how we can grow our practice. So first is networking, I think, which we talked about. I think yesterday also you had a good session on it. So this is just my views on networking. Guidelines of the institute basically enhance cooperation between CA firms, which means two small firms or a medium firm with a few small firms can come up and create a much better cooperation and availability of resources, leads to transfer of skills from larger firms to small and medium-sized firms, which in turn will create much better skilling within the CA profession, creation of a larger pool of resources to compete with top firms. So if you have a pool of resources, then only you can compete with the top firm. Otherwise, even if I have a particular expertise, if I'm not able to deliver, because I lack the resources or the networking, then nothing much I can do about it. So, but with this, we actually try and compete with the larger firms. And scope of work as defined by the guidelines of ICAI. So basically, it's after networking also, you continue with the traditional, what we do as a traditional CA. Now, there's also something called a management consultancy company, which ICAI permits to float management consultancy companies, which is a separate entity and should be registered under the Companies Act. It should not be in traditional or audited tax-related services. It will provide advisory and consulting services in various areas like financial planning, working capital management, management audit, investment advisory, software, data processing, related services, etc. It is not allowed to operate in areas which require specific license from the concerned regulators unless it acquires those licenses. Like if you can't do insurance broking in it, unless you have an insurance broking license. So, but you have a consulting setup also, which can be registered. You have a networking setup. Now you have an MDP. You have three sort of major setups. So how do we look at it? So all these are mutually exclusive structures which are being promoted by the institute to enhance business and professional values within the business. So vision values will include skills, your overall reach, and obviously with that you should be able to provide better and better service to your clients. Networking provides depth within traditional areas in practice, while MDP opens up new vistas. So basically one is looking at deepening your same activity. MDP can give you the breadth. So one is deepening it, while one is widening it. And there will be some common areas of operation between MDP, MCC, and MCC. However, MCC does not operate in traditional areas of practice, whereas MDP can operate in traditional areas of practice. So that means MDP plus networking might actually give you what you are looking at, without actually looking for a separate company to run your advisory businesses. But provided you maintain, wherever your Chinese wall is required and you don't get into a conflict of interest situation. Now let's look at it slightly deeply. Can a company secretary be a partner of an MDP? It is permitted by ICAI. If you look at the relevant guidelines of ICAI, they can join multidisciplinary outfits. But at the moment, ICAI has put a provision to on hold relating to this till further notice. Which means as of today, a company secretary will not be able to join your partnership. Same thing with the cost accountant body. There is no regulatory issues involved. So ICAI has permitted it. Their institute also, if you look at the provisions, can actually permit it, but they have now put up sort of a blanket ban on this. Now, this is, we don't start off with a good foot, but let's see how best we can do. Because as I said in the beginning, when we are looking at various professions, each of the professions has its own regulations. So we can't expect everybody to be on the same page on the same day. So we have to work slowly, wherein we get there. That's very important. Now, next comes to an advocate. It has to be mentioned that it should be a member of the Bar Council of India. But Bar Council of India does not at the moment permit an advocate to become a partner of another firm which has other professionals. So that's again a major issue which we park for future thinking. Instead of engineers, it's relating to engineers, it is permitted by the institute. I mean, ICI, there is nothing in the Institute of Engineers stopping it. So therefore, an engineer can become a partner. I think that's the first positive note coming through. Can an architect become a partner of an MDP? Yes, again permitted by ICI. Indian Institute of Architects also permits it. So therefore, we can actually have architects as partners. Now, last is an actuary, a very important profession. And I personally feel as we are, going along in this, our CA profession, we'll have more and more reasons to work with actuaries together. So therefore, when I'm looking at this is very important. ICI permits it. But instead of actuary only provide that actuary who does not hold a certificate of practice can become partner in such a firm. So basically, he can only be a consultant. He cannot provide any certification as an actuary. So again, a very important point for our future debates, whether this is good enough or as we go along and we are looking at, audit changing, we're looking at future losses when we are doing our provisioning, particularly for banks and financial institutions, whether we need to, have actuaries as part of this practice or not, who can help enhance our quality of providing these audited services. So when you have non-CAs as partners, their documents have to be attested by a chartered accountant who is not related to the MDP for submission to the CA Institute. The truth and validity certificate and membership prescribed for professional bodies and degree of recognized university for engineering graduate. And member, that means for engineering graduate, we'll need to actually verify two stages. One is his graduation, and second is his membership to the professional body. Now, I do not know whether all of you are aware, some of you must be, that there is also a qualification where an institution of engineers conducts certain examination, and a person qualified as an AMIE is actually considered equivalent to an engineering graduate. So even that we have to keep in mind when we are looking at graduation certificate, etc. Then member of other professional bodies, they should have valid membership of the professional body at the date of entering the multidisciplinary partnership. Again, an important point is they have talked about it at date of entering. They should be member of that institute. Yes, fine. Actually, they should continue to be members right through the period that they are partners of this firm. Otherwise, this can lead to some other complications legally. So quick listing what MDP firms and partners can do. All services prescribed under ICI Act and regulations. MDP at its discretion can permit partners to practice in their individual capacity. A chartered accountant partner of MDP firm can become partner of other firms or engage in other occupation as agreed by the partners. So all these things are discretion of the MDP. As a firm, they should agree that a partner should also be doing something else. A firm can accept engagement like bank audit, audit of cooperative society, etc. Can undertake tax audit assignments. Empanelment with various agencies is permissible to MDPs. Now, regarding stat audit, we have already discussed it earlier. Again, we will discuss it somewhere in detail. MDPs can also do networking subject to the conditions prescribed. So therefore, an MDP firm can network with another CA firm under the networking guidelines. To summarize, professionals who can become partners today an engineer, an architect, and an actuary, but an actuary who does not hold a certificate of practice. Important. So as of today, these are the three categories of professionals who can join an MDP immediately. But allowed by regulation, but not allowed by temporarily by the relevant institute is company secretary and cost accountant. Why I actually point this out separately is because this is something which I'm sure the institute is looking at very seriously and having, discussions with these institutes how they can, benefit as through a reciprocal arrangement, because this is something which is a low-hanging fruit, as we call. It can be done by removing this ban. The moment the institutes, this relevant institute, ICSI and ICWAI, removes this ban, these people can become partners in a MDP. And I need not, reiterate how much importance that will have for, or how much value it will add to an MDP when a company secretaries and cost accountants can also come in terms of, the deepening the services category, or widening the services category of the firm. Not permitted by regulation is advocate. Again, here, changing regulation does not happen in India very quickly. It takes its own time. We need to work on this. But something which we should definitely, I'm sure the institute is seized with, and they'll be working on getting this done. Because again, an advocate with a legal, providing legal advice can provide immense value in broadening the services of an MDP. Now, those who are not permitted, MBA and other management graduates, again, yes, somewhere down the line, we have to all think whether we should need them, because there are certain areas where having an MBA might help us in, generating business, and some kind of new areas also we can look at in where people are more comfortable, using the MBAs in terms of providing some sort of a management supports, additional management supports, etc. Valuers, again, very much aligned to our profession. Insolvency professions, very important to look at them, as this is a very growing area of business for all of us. Information technology professional, today, anything what we do has an information technology angle. So therefore, information technology is most important for us to understand and go along. So having professionals from that field is going to have immense value, because we are looking at certain areas. We have created this, we use the services of CISAs, for certain kind of IT audits, but it's have to go beyond audits. We have to look at IT professionals from every point of view, right from the point of how we are storing data to, that, as I say, data integrity and data security is going to be of prime importance to all of us. And as we develop and go internationally, this GDPR and other laws are going to come into force. It is going to be very important for us to look at these areas and actually try and see how best, we can utilize these services. Regarding statutory audit, as I said, they're eligible to do statutory audit and MDP in practice as long as assignment is executed by a CA, majority of the partners are CA, and in share of profit, majority of the profits are allocated to the CA partners. Very important point. We should try and remember that. So let us take a case study. This we'll go through in a detail. Let's say ABC MDP is a multidisciplinary firm with 9 partners as per details below. So you have A, B, C, D, E, all of them CA, each having share of profit of 12%. Then you have VX, who are actuaries, having share of profit of 10%. And YZ, engineers, having share of profit of 10% each. So if we go through this, so what is the summary we get? We get CAs as the total 5 partners having share of profit of 60%, actuaries 2 partners 20%, engineers 2 partners 20%. So total being 9, 5 CAs means majority of the partners are CAs, and out of 100%, 60% of the profits are going to CAs. Therefore, we are eligible for statutory audit. It's a very important understanding which we have to have, because sometimes, when we are doing certain negotiations, a small thing falls below the crack. And this is where, keeping this chart in mind is going to be of great help. Now we change the constitution of the firm, and one more actuary comes in and one CA. E drops off and U, another actuary, comes in. U gets E's share of profits, which is 12%. The rest of the things remain unchanged. So what happens today? Number of CA partners falls to 4, number of actuary partners goes up to 3, and engineer is 2. So what is the profit share of the CA partner? It is 48%, actuary is 32%, and engineer is 20%. So therefore, CAs are neither in majority in number nor in share of profit. So engineer plus actuary is getting 52%, so they have more than half the profits. And together they have 5 partners, so they have got both majority in number of partners also. So this is a clear situation where you are not eligible for stat audits, because neither you are qualifying in terms of numbers nor you are qualifying in terms of share of profit. Now what do we do next? So we look at other situations. Okay, we keep this 4 CA partners, but we increase their share of profit. With the actuaries, we renegotiate with them and we change their share of profit downward. So CAs get 3 of them 14%, 1 of them 13%. For actuaries, 1 of them 10%, and the rest are 7.5%. The 2 engineers are at 10%. They remain at 10%. So what is the summary? Again, CAs 4, but their total share of profit goes up to 55%. Actuary 3, our total share of profit is 25%. Engineer 2, total share of profit 20%. So out of 9, this is the situation. Now what happens here? But CAs are not in profit not in majority in numbers, but in share of profit they are in majority. But because the institute has clearly defined these guidelines, you are still not eligible for a statutory audit, because in spite of having majority of the profits going to you, you do not have the number of partners, in majority. So therefore, again, you are not entitled to or eligible for any statutory audit as per Companies Act. Now let's see the last situation. Again, we get back 5 CAs. But again, the change of profit share changes. The CAs have first 4 ABCD, E rejoins back at a lower profit share of 5%. The ABCD also gives up some share of profit. They are at 10%. There are 2 actuaries, but they get a higher share of profit, expecting better business level at 15% each. One of the engineers has been there for some time, so he gets a 15% from 10%, and the other engineer still continues at 10%. Now, what happens to the summary? There are 5 partners now. So number of CA partners is 5, but their share of profit is 45. Actually, there are 2, but share of profit is 30. Engineer 2, 25. So again, you have this time majority in numbers, but not in share of profit. So not eligible for statutory audit. So that's very, so this is why I have driven this down very carefully is we have to very clearly plan out the MDP when we are looking at what business we want to do. Now, I could be extremely happy not doing statutory audit and go for a majority of non-CA partners. That's completely our choice and a business model. But if you are planning that, no, I will be a full service CA unit and also provide other services, then you have to remember these two particular areas. One is in number, as well other is share of profit. In both, the CS should have a majority within the firm. I hope this is clear to all of you. Now let's look at some of the points to ponder, because we have not allowed certain professions. But is that right, or is that something which we need to look at more in detail? So as of today, restrictions are imposed on company secretary, cost accountant, and advocate. We can do nothing much about it. Not permitted as MBAs, valuers, economy professionals, information technology professionals, and partially permitted is actually, I'm saying partially permitted because he does, and actually who's not having a certificate of practice can only join this. So this severely restricts, the kind of business which we are looking at, the kind of thought which is gone behind this kind of a regulation. So and also, if we look at it, it might become a bit contradictory at times. Let us look at information technology professionals and valuers. They're not allowed to join as partners. But however, an engineer could have both these qualifications. Then he could join the firm and continue in providing that services. Now, what is the institute's official view on that? Are they trying to say that, no, you as an engineer, if you come in with this valuation, this kind of qualifications, yes, you are very much welcome. So that, the reason why I'm doing it is because then you are a member of the institution of engineers and you are regulated by somebody. If that is the case, that's a very good situation for us. We must understand that this is how we can build our business. Similarly, a CA could be a cost accountant and a company secretary, but as we know, we can only practice in one area. And in MDP, obviously, even if I'm a cost account, I have hold all the qualifications and I'll be only a practicing CA. And as a practicing CA, all I can do is I can obviously lean on my training as a cost accountant and a company secretary, but not get into the traditional areas of practice where they need to have their COPs. So that is the restriction, but still I could have the benefit of the qualification. Similarly, CAs can themselves be valuers, insolvency professionals, and they have certain areas in information technology like DISA. So that service we are already providing. So that's not something new. So this is where, we need to still, sit down and maybe ponder and maybe have work groups to look at and see how we can align best and get the best number of services done, or have the largest number of services available under the umbrella of an MDP while having the requisite control, which I think the institute envisaged through the, regulated institutes concept. So, so we still have, services of advisory services on these professions, which we can look at. Now, like actuary, I was mentioning about certain areas, especially financial audits, where we are now looking at LGDs and all that, loss given default, future loss, percentages, etc. Now, how do we, as of today, we are using some simpler statistical methods to do it. Now, as we go along and develop more complex models, and as the banks are expected to go into much more and more, international business as well as complex derivative related businesses, etc., we will be looking at having an actuary to provide us guidance in this area. Now, yes, maybe somebody who's not in practice and is our partner can help in providing the correct model. But provided we need some certification on this, we'll still have to go to somebody else. Like the gratuity certification we need for every company. You have to go to an actuary to get it. So, but that as an MDP, I will not be able to provide because the person, the actuary who's sitting with me, who is not holding the COP or not being allowed to hold the COP by the Institute of Actuaries. So, if we look at this, why I am saying this is as a concern is if I look at CA, cost accountants, company secretaries, and actuaries, that itself, if we can have a proper, dialogue with their institutes and get these impediments over, the kind of breadth of service which we will be providing through the MDP is going to be phenomenal. And I think all of us as professionals should be looking forward to doing something like that. Now let's go through some positives and challenges. Now, from the client perspective, as we know, India is emerging as the most sought after global destination in the service sector. MDP is the best way to address complex client requirements. So a client comes from abroad, he's looking to set up something in India as an MDP. We will have that multiple expertise to advise him properly from various aspects. So we do not have to tell him, okay, this is the accountant's point of view, but as an advocate, you go to somebody else. For secretary, you go to somebody else. For the engineering and technical evaluation, you can go to somebody else. Yes, maybe at the point we don't have an advocate coming in, but we can have an engineer who can provide the technical feasibility work done and tell you the actual situation. So those are important things. Similarly, in real estate sector, which is again a very sought after sector today, we'll be looking forward to architects providing a lot of guidance in this regard. And CAs and architects working together can improve the professional level of the real estate sector to a great extent. One roof solution. So client need not go from pillar to post for a wide range of services as the experts of many disciplines, as I said, to come together as partners in MDP. All the needs of a client's organization in promoting, establishing an entity, getting the license and launching a venture or project, mobilizing funds in the market across the globe, restructure. Hello? Yes? Yes, is there any? Mergers, acquisitions, amalgamations, business process reengineering, and task of complying with of requirements prescribed under various statutes can all be effectively handled under one roof. So basically, we can help somebody who's come into India to set up their business, advise them on what they can set up, provide them services under one roof in setting up through financial planning, through secretarial planning, through legal assistance, then go on and see how they can raise their funds and etc. Run the organization. As they mature, they will be looking at certain restructuring. We can provide restructuring from technical point of view, from legal point of view, from the financial point of view. Mergers and acquisitions, again, we all have worked, a lot of us have worked on it. Amalgamation between various businesses to grow the business. Process re-engineering, we need to continuously keep looking at processes and re-engineer them. So if suppose it's a manufacturing unit, it's not only a financial guy who will come and tell you, you need an engineer who will come and tell you the technical part of it. So all this will be looked at very carefully as part of MDP. So so it is a one roof solution. I mean, you come here, I provide you the complete solution. bound to grow, and being just a CA is one thing, but being able to provide various kinds of services definitely adds to your brand name. And as I said earlier in my address to all of you, that branding in our profession is one of the most tricky areas to look at. We have our code of conduct to remember, so we cannot solicit business. So basically, word of mouth and a satisfied client is the best way of growing our brand name. And if I can provide more and more services, and if the client can come to me and he gets whatever he requires, obviously, obviously we deliver well, then obviously, he will go and tell somebody else, yes, I got this service. You can look forward to, and rely on this firm to provide me this service. So that is the important point which we need to, keep on looking at when we are, growing our brand name in this area. So now we have another expanded horizon. Obviously, with different professionals, your horizon increases. For us domestic firms, the need of the hour is to come together and work as a large unit, to compete with the larger unit. The guidelines will help the Indian firms to become global players. As somebody mentioned, that our Prime Minister has mentioned that next big five should come from India. And this could be one platform which could help us do that. Firm needs to expand by mergers and otherwise, and focus on growth, bringing a wider spectrum of service within the ambit of its functioning. So this obviously can be better accomplished as a status of MDP, because you are able to provide that services within one roof and as part of your service package. You don't have to say, okay, I am the CA, I'll get you an engineer to verify this, I'll get you a actuary to certify other one, I'll get you a company secretary to do your secretarial audit. You don't need to do that. If you can get all of them together, that's how practices grow. Pool of talent, a stronger framework of pooling resources, interaction among team members, enhances performance, refines skills, streamlines process, and not only more efficient but highly quality. It could provide higher quality advice. So basically, what we are looking at, again, with the help of MDP, there's always a cross pollination or cross learning. So as a CA, I learn from my non-CA partner. Similarly, a non-CA learns from me. And similarly, when I go into networking with that, I pass on these skills to more and more people. And as a result, I create a large, vast pool of talent, which, stands me in good stead. As I mentioned earlier, I am individually, I know I can do this job, but I need 5 good people to do it. And I don't have it. I have 2. Then I'm stuck. But with this kind of a situation, we are likely to solve that problem and get that 5. Instead of 5, maybe I have 10, and I can choose 5 out of that. That is what is the aim of this kind of a partnership. Cost effective, it will be obviously deliver tangible benefit in collaboration, saves money and time, extremely efficient mechanism. As I said, when I'm able to provide 3 or 4 of the 5 services within the house, which will be, this definitely will become cost effective for the client. Instead of coordinating with 5 different firms, they're doing it with one firm. So once they explain, that whole thing, that chain can be followed. Second is, for them, the cost of going to various different firms, obviously each firm has its own part of fixed cost, so which comes in as part of the fees. But that gets eliminated. Here it's one fixed cost and 3 services instead of 3 fixed costs with 3 services. So that will definitely give a better, what should I say, efficiency to the client in terms of fees. So further, avert risk through diversification. So we are now in one profession. Once we have multidisciplinary functions, then MDP provides checks and balances to avoid risk by addressing each aspect of individual detail with targeted and collaborated expertise. So, two ways of looking at it. One is, if I'm looking at a business sector list as a CA, I'm only a CA. I don't have much expertise on others. So, when I'm providing that information, so as a CA, I might face certain ups and downs in the market, which I will not, which will be better challenged because I have non-CA partners who at this time will be doing some other businesses. That will help. Similarly, as a CA, my knowledge might be limited in some areas and I am not able to get a good advice. But when I have non-CA partners, they can give me that exact technical input which I require from an actuary and an engineer. And that will help me sail through the process. So it's averting risk in two ways. One is by having proper information, other is having other vistas of revenue. Extensive network of experienced professionals, as we've been mentioning that MDP gets the benefit and is supported by an extensive network of experienced professionals in lots of distinct disciplines in many industries. So basically, as I said, we learn from each other. So we'll have the learning will not only be from a CA to a non-CA, but from a non-CA to a CA. I will learn some aspects of technical, issues, technical engineering issues which are associated with, when I'm raising funds for a bank or something, for a manufacturing company going to a bank. So maybe sometimes when I'm making the projections, I've been completely blinded. I'm looking at it only financially. But when I have a engineer as my partner, I can tell him, look, boss, this is the kind of production capacity they're talking about. These are the kind of machines they're talking about. Does it look feasible? Or does the market, have that kind of a requirement? That's where the engineer's input will come in. Similarly, the actual real input will come in terms of giving you guidance towards things like employee benefits, long-term employee benefits. If you're looking at an insurance industry, then providing guidance on the embedded value. As you know, embedded value runs all insurance firms, and for that we are dependent on the actuaries. Having them will definitely help in this manner, and not only us, but then it will be our own networks. They will all benefit. So CA will have their own networks, the non-CA, the actuaries with their own networks. So the learning that we acquire, will get to a lot of people. It's like an aroma. It will spread across the room. It will spread across the professional communities. So that will give you a lot more, importance. Lot more depth or width in doing your business. Empowerment to undertake work of greater magnitude and challenges. Again, we've been talking about it. Professionals will be able to offer services not only in his domain expertise, but in the collaborative approach of others as well. Will help them to develop an ecosystem which is in line with the medical professional. Professionals will be able to offer a bouquet of services to their national and multinational clients with help of a competitive landscape. So basically, you'll be able to provide a bouquet of services. The MDP itself will be sort of like a center. It might be having 10 products, but with the help of its network, it might be able to provide 15, 20, 25 products, or be able to sort out any kind of issue which your client faces. So that kind of, and any magnitude, you're looking at an international fundraising. Today, as a CA, whether I can advise him on that, whether I have enough expertise on that. But once I have that proper network created, and now once the network develops, we can even look at international networks to develop along with this. So we will be able to actually go and do that, able to exercise that kind of thing and go into the global foray with much better, confidence and having that knowledge to do so. Now, there are obviously challenges. I think the major challenge is jurisdiction regarding disciplinary action. Most important challenge could be exercising jurisdiction regarding disciplinary action in terms of fixing up responsibility regarding a particular professional among the partners of MDP. All regulations related to eligibility to code of conduct, audit, and code of ethics and professional bodies will continue to apply to their members. And introduction of super regulatory body of MDP will help to overcome this challenge of MDPs. Now, let me just go through this in a much more detail. Like, as we said, if we have this one project, which may be partially executed by a CA, partially by an engineer, partially by an actuary. Now, something went wrong, or one of the partners did not work as it was expected. Now, who is going to be the disciplining authority? Because all of us are involved. So this is where there might be some issues, because each of the institute might at that point of time like to either take control of the situation, like see, as a CA institute, we have been the primary mover, so we might like to take control. The other institute might come in and say, no, you cannot have action on my members. Other institute might take a view that no, this is my member was correct, it's the other members who are wrong. Then there's a dispute between the institutes as to who is responsible for a particular failure or particular goof up. In that case, this could lead to a conflict between institutes also, and create problems even before we get fully operational. So there, ultimately, if we are looking at MDP across the organization, we might need something like a super regulatory body, who will be over and above all the institutes in terms of managing the disciplinary actions relating to MDP. If there's a MDP action, this super body comes into force and they look at it impartially, and they have representatives from all the respective institutes. They look at all this aspects of the case, all the facets, and then they decide who is actually responsible. Then maybe they can refer it back to the concerned institute for the actual action to be taken. Now, another very important area is conflict of interest. Now, once we go into doing a lot of work, like we are doing audit, we are doing consulting, we are providing technical assistance, we are raising funds, there could be a major conflict of interest between the various things we are doing. So there could be a passing the buck. Who is responsible for what? One, when do we stop? Where does where does the curtain comes in? We call the bamboo curtain in some cases in when in investments and other areas where we segregate between back office, mid office, and front office. Similarly, so who is responsible? So I should not, as an auditor, become also an auditee. If that a situation comes in, which has happened internationally and in very few, quite a number of cases, it has happened in. We'll discuss one of the cases later with the Big Four and the Big Six, as it was earlier. Then there could be a major conflict of interest issue. As today, as we are talking, some of the big firms are actually creating Chinese walls between their auditing practice and consulting practice by creating completely separate organizations. So that's one area which we have to keep in mind, that we think yes, everything is hunky-dory, but once we get into this business of providing one-stop shop, we should not become so involved with that conflict becomes a part of this issue. So if I am providing all kinds of services to him, like from incorporation to running his accounts to CFO's office outsourcing, etc., and then I should not be even trying to go for their audit. I should leave it to somebody else. Even the internal audit and other things should be left to somebody else, so that proper checks and balance remain. I think as we go along, this is going to be a big bone of contention for all of us if this model develops. The onus of work and response liability is possible that due to negligence of some partners in certain type of work, the civil liability of the firm in form of damages or compensation could be heavy. This aspect may enhance the cost of professional indemnity policy regarding an MDP. So again, if somebody has been negligent, then that can actually increase the risk on the all other partners. This is a true, really real life situation, which is difficult to fathom. As long as going is good, nobody is going to bother. But once somebody plays truant or deliberately does something wrong, or even not deliberately, even something goes wrong because of his misjudgment, then the liability as a partner, because this is a partnership firm. So even as a LLP, it will come back to the firm as a whole. It will impact its own. The liabilities will impact it, and more than the civil liabilities and damages, I believe nothing can hurt more than the hurting your own reputation. If the reputation gets hurt, then you have no way, to redeem that business. The business itself will start going down, and you will find it very difficult to, come back. So these are the challenges which we are looking at. So in the conclusion, we can say global scenario, this is an attractive opportunity for Indian accounting firms to grow, as I said, exponentially and widen their knowledge and widen their services provided. It is inevitable the firms get empowered with adequate manpower, skill set, database, and good infrastructure, because I cannot just have the partners doing the work. I have to create enough skill sets and manpower at the back end and infrastructure. Today, the IT infrastructure is very important. To be able to take on such kind of projects and deliver, to be able to, tell the client, yes, you come to me, I will sort out your problem. And for that, MDP provides you a very good framework, because you're able to get, other than CAs, also other professionals who have got expertise in various fields to come in and provide you the guidance as well as the knowledge. And that, as I said, the knowledge itself becomes like an aroma and grows. Now, finally, I'll take one slide on Enron. Perhaps you would remember in 1990s, I think the Enron collapsed. It was a very big energy trading company. It was very big. In fact, they even had a project, if you remember, in Maharashtra, in India, which didn't go through. Ultimately, I think it had to be taken over by somebody else after certain construction. So basic flaw was that the Big Six, I think, was involved in this. And I think one of the firms, I think Arthur Andersen, collapsed out of this. Because what happened is, for the Big Six, audit was the major public service. But they started with building this multidisciplinary structures. They started providing services in various areas. So additional structures, as I said, were authorized. And they went into doing that, consulting, giving them consulting. So if I give you a consulting advice, saying you go and do this to enhance your revenue, and then when I come back as an auditor and look at that and say, okay, this does not seem to be working well, then my first intention will be, okay, not to, let that out. Let me try and hide it some way. So that's where conflict of interest comes in. And ultimately, this is what led to Sarbanes-Oxley coming in and various other acts coming in across the world. And accounting firms had to diverse consulting purposes of firm practices, as well as the whole internal control network for Mr. Deepak, can you come back? Hello. Hello. Are you not able to hear me?
No, sir. We are able to hear you, sir.
Okay. So can we now look at what are the thoughts, and I can see a lot of comments have come in the chat box and all, so we can discuss some of the issues.
Yes, sir. A good number of our members are qualified as CS, and if such member is a partner, can such good number of our members are qualified as CS and CMS. If such member is a partner, can such a partner perform attached function?
Yeah, but I think presently only one in one of the professions only you can perform the attest person or hold the COP. That's what is my understanding. Mr. Deepak, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't think I can hold multiple COPs today as a CS, CA and a CMA at the same time. I can only decide which one I want to hold, and the other ones I have to be a non-practicing member.
Yes, sir.
So that is the position. So I can do attest as a CA and be a advisor. In my mind, I can have the knowledge I've acquired out of CMA and CS, but I cannot attest for all the three. That's the difference.
Yes, sir. You have to have a COP only on one of the professional institutes.
Yeah, only one professional will allow you COP.
Yes, yes.
I'm not.
Sir, there is some problem with your voice, sir. Your network bandwidth is low, sir.
सर का नेट थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम आ रहा सर.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me now, or is it going still low?
No, it's better now, sir.
Okay, let's see if it is.
Sir, you can off your video for the time being for some time. Maybe that will help the audio be clear.
Yeah. Yeah, is that better?
Yeah, sir. Now it's very better.
Okay, fine. So,
sir, can question from Mr. Rakesh? Can MDP firms include professionals such as registered valuers, plant and machinery, and land and building category, and SEBI registered merchant bankers?
So merchant bankers, I don't think they specifically mentioned, but valuers very clearly this institute has said no. As of now.
6, I think they have to be from the 6 recognized institutes only. Sir, your voice is not audible. Sir, your voice is not audible, Maitra, sir.
Okay, just give me 1 minute.
Yeah.
Hello. Is this better?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's very better now.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know, some instability in my internet connections today. So tell me.
there was one question
Huh.
wherein they have asked whether the merchant bankers and registered valuers can be part of the MDP.
Yeah, as of now, the merchant bankers, the institute has not mentioned anything in the regulations. And regarding valuers, they have said no. But as I said earlier, if an engineer is allowed and he's got valuation qualification, then how it will happen. I would say that we can get a clarification from the institute and maybe go ahead with that kind of a situation.
Correct. Because all the three registered valuers, in three category of registered valuation, that is for financial assets, land and building, and plant and machinery, definitely have to work together in a long run. So mostly institute may consider that.
Yeah, I have a feeling that institute will consider it sometime later once they see the stability of the platform.
Correct. So regarding MDP, which I have also one doubt, it says majority of the partner will have to be a CA. The profit sharing also majority has to be through a chartered accountant firm.
Yes.
Practically, how do you think it would be a challenge in the long run? Because the CS also, the respective CS or CWA will also have their institute will not object that in the long run they will lose their identity, and anyhow we are using the name MDP CA and majority of the how in the long run will impact the MDP relationships?
I think it's a very pertinent point you have raised. If you look at why I feel the CA and CMA is not, CS and CMA has put a temporary, blanket order of not allowing, is maybe one of the reasons. Because unless they come up with, CS, MDP CS with CS as minority partners, or MDP CWAs, CWA, I don't know how much, but CS definitely, this issue will continue. But as of today, what the institute have said is that only thing you will not be allowed is statutory audit. All other functions you can continue. So only statutory audit, if you want to do, then you have to have this majority. It's not for all the other functions. All other functions you can still continue as an auditor. But stat audit, if you want to do, you have to have a CA majority. I think that's the very clear.
So the name of the firm need not be CA also. It can be.
Yeah, I think it is said it will be MTP, such and such MDP. That's the name. But I think for understanding, I think they have put it MDP CA in practice. I think that's the regulation. So I don't know how a name. I don't know whether a firm has been formed so far or not. So and how it has been named. So that's something which you need to. But I guess it should be say X, Y, and Y MDP, or X, Y, and company MDP. Something like that.
Yeah, that should be. That way, then other professional also will not be have that uncomfort zone to come on board.
Yeah, that's what it should be. So that's why I feel that this guideline, and I have spent a lot of time trying to explain why a lot of things will have to develop from here. It is just like a step, at a time. It's still.
It is the starting point.
Yes, the starting point. Yes.
Yeah, launch pad, as you said. Right?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. Any members who wants to talk can raise their hand. We will allow them to talk. So any of the members who have any doubt, Venkatramana.
I can see 2, 3.
Venkatramana sir, you can raise your hands. You have been allowed to talk, sir. You can unmute yourself and talk. Pinky Tiberwal, you can unmute, and there is one with only number. So request you to, if you want, you have been allowed to talk. Request you to please unmute yourself, and if any question is there, you can talk. Otherwise, if hands are raised by mistake, request you to please lower. Pinky, Venkatram Badrinath sir, Pinky Tiberwal.
Sanjay Purohit.
Sanjay Purohit, sir. Yes, sir. You can unmute yourself and talk, sir. Okay. Shilpa Singhal. Shilpa, you can ask your doubt. Yeah, Miss Shilpa.
Can't hear you.
Shilpa is Miss Shilpa, is our voice audible?
Your voice is not audible. That is the problem.
Yeah. Shilpa ji, your voice is not audible. Okay, no doubts.
Okay. Pinky and G is there.
Friends, thank you, Shilpa ji, for your saying you no doubts. Any members request you to please raise your concern. Otherwise, we will close the session. Sir, are open for any questions from any of the members. Request members to, before logging off your DLH session, please answer the Q&A because that will enable the system to give you the CPRs, and also give the faculty feedback also option is also available. Request you to please fill the faculty feedback also. Sir, I think there are no more questions, and any other topics if you want to cover, any other points, otherwise we can call it a day.
Yeah, I think obviously end of the year people would like to also have some time. I'm sure Deepak ji, sitting in your
Yes.
office, you are still very seriously looking at a lot of things. But I think time to party, and Happy New Year to all the participants. And it was great talking to you. Anything if you want to. My presentation is available with Hyderabad branch. In case any issues are there, they can coordinate with me if anything is required. As I said earlier also, this is a great step forward, but we still have a long way to go. And let us all, I think there's a Q&A I can see. No, it's gone. Is there a Q&A?
No, sir, no more questions.
Achha.
Chat members are just writing their request office to kindly share the memento.
Thank you.
Shantosh, it's not visible.
I can see it.
Sir, a small token of accept a small branch. Request you to please accept it, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you once again, Deepak ji and Mr. Reddy and Mr. Tibrawal. It was great speaking to you, and thank you for the memento. And I will